And if I manipulate people through logic or through emotions, then I don't get to hear them out correctly.
But how can you
hear them out the way I want to hear them out?
But how can you expect to get anywhere in a world where everyone is using these manipulation techniques all the time, and you are not supposed to use them?
Don't let them affect you.
You are.
No.
Let me. You are letting yourself be at a disadvantage because your ideas will not be able to get through.
Not if I'm aware of them.
So in that statement, you created all these essentially rules of how life is that aren't necessarily exactly how life is.
If I'm aware of your logical fallacies, I'm just going to point them out, appeal to emotion. We need to stop talking about this, and I'm going to divert it to a more logical sense. It's all about being the guy that understands. It's like conning. It's basically conning. You know, the fool is the one that thinks that he can't be conned. As long as you understand that you can be, faulty by emotion, and you try your best to understand it. But yes, I understand manipulation could be a great tool, but again, you're trying to use it in a way that makes you win, and I'm trying not to win anymore. I'm tired of debating just to win. I like to win in the sense that I'm trying to unravel your thing, but I'm not. If you do it through FI, you lose a lot of true conversation. Like, people have real points that if you didn't manipulate them through FI, you divert them from their real points. You don't want to hear the real points out as much, is what I'm saying. You miss out on a lot of good possibilities because you want to divert them towards ones you know you can win off of.
So I have something I want to throw in because it was just a thought that I had. I don't think this really matters as far as the positioning, whether one's second or third, or if one's creative or tertiary. But what's it called? Whatever that thing's called, the mobilizing. But it's like FETI. I kind of feel like is best served when, rather than trying to manipulate emotions towards logical ends, you try to find consistencies through TI that brings about good feelings in other people. But it has to start in actual consistencies.
Yeah, I think that makes a better productive conversation, for sure.
Not like, oh, let me try to find. I guess mindset really matters, because even in that ordering, you could still use it improperly. You could say, I'm going to try to be consistent so that person will be happy, which is that appeal to emotion thing that's being talked about. But rather, if you focus on, okay, I'm going to try to be accurate to, not even necessarily like, I'm not going to try to be, consistent so that other people will feel better, but more having it as a sort of happy byproduct of you being consistent, that people are like, oh, hey, that's really cool. I like that, and like, being able to engage in that way. I kind of feel like that would appeal to ENTPs, being able to identify logical characteristics of something and have people benefit from it, because I think that would generate that sort of FE that they're looking for. In a positive sort of win-win sort of scenario. You're not having to take anything from anyone. You're getting to exercise your creative ability, and people are benefiting from it. And
it's what I was talking about kind of with the loop thing. There's the one loop where you use NE, all the possibilities, and utilize FE, which is reactions of feelings, in order to get TI, which is just TI shit. It's logical to do this, it's logical to do that in order to win debates, Whereas the other way to do it is just to get, FE. Use NETI to get FE. But I think that if you just understand FE in debate a little more and try to like not coerce certain feelings to divert conversations, you get like a wholesome conversation out of it. You might learn something much more. I'm always interested in hearing everybody out and all their possibilities. And if I'm just trying to win and use FE to manipulate people, then I miss out on that,
Yeah.
I just win, which is fun too. I get it. So I totally get it, Loki.
Because we're talking about in one place we're talking about debate for fun, which means we basically don't have an FI stake personally. And then We don't really have a value in the
I try not to have an FI stake though ever nowadays,
Right,
but
but occasionally,
sometimes I can't help it.
And this, I almost would want to relate it to like the mover shaker versus the more nine and stuff in the tri-type over here.
Yeah, the ambassador is what I'm called apparently.
Done. And this is how you do it.
Yeah.
I can relate. Like you've got to make, you end up making a judgment. You go, okay, what are the constraints upon getting this done that I think needs done? And I mean, you're going to look at some of those extra tools sometimes as if they're the only way to get the thing done. But it's not in that case a debate for that's own sake. There's some sort of external valuing of the situation or the point or whatever going on in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was also going to relate it back to just like back to like fighting and the way, you know, if you make the arena in which you train more difficult and limit your options sometimes to the core stuff, then it's a lot easier to dress that up and expand it and add different things onto it later, rather than practicing what might have been the easier or what, you know. And I would kind of detected that kind of pattern here too. So if you restrict yourself to very like TI, very straight up sort of argumentation, if you can win in that case, then it's super easy if you start giving yourself extra tools later in the cases where you really need it.
No, for sure. It's definitely a healthier way of doing it. You know, I think that if you want to debate, just cutting out F is great, you know? So, I mean, using it later on is even better. But I don't like missing out on, you know, I don't know. I try not to just have an FI conviction anymore, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to find a video that would be amazing about now.
Oh man, I can't believe it's 5 o'clock almost.
Videos are stupid. I have my eyes closed and I don't want to open them.
I need to have my eyes closed. I need to go to bed after this cigarette, to be honest. I need to limit myself.
We've had productive conversation.
Right?
We learned some shit.
So, yeah, okay. Hey, Ken, you haven't talked in like a few minutes. Speak.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Just made me think of video game Dark Souls. There's these token things you can get that when you throw them, a voice calls out. So it's like you'd like kill people in the player versus player stuff, invade someone's world, kill them, and then just start chucking them frantically, and just this voice calls out, "I'm sorry. Hello. Very good."
I'm sorry. That's great. I love my brother played this a lot. I always never really got into them, but I love the ones that said like stand here and you'd like try to get up there and just fall off to your death.
Yeah, the different messages.
Mm-hmm.
Be it, yeah.
Great tips.
But yeah, like I noticed in our conversation just now, I felt that urge again, and it's happened a couple times, actually several times in the conversation where I'm like, "Ooh, let me draw a connection." Is that TI desire? Let me try to get more consistency. I like that feeling. I like that Let me try to get more of it, and it's like it pushes to where I might strain and stretch beyond what I'm, is really within my view, and then I'm no longer being consistent. And so that sort of thing, I'm gonna steal a line from Eric. Sort of, was it the superposition or whatever collapses in on itself? It's like this notion or this concept like no longer applies. This streak of consistency is sort of no longer present. But
it's like drinking yourself sober.
Drinking yourself sober.
Except the opposite.
But yeah, it's like
it's just like looking for so much consistency becomes inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that's the desire, is to try to find that. And so part of what I realized is that when I really get deep into something, it's like I'll be studying something day after day after day after day. I'll get frustrated and it'll be annoying and things like that. And I'll switch to something else, and I might come back to that at some point, and suddenly I find there's this fresh perspective that I have on it. It's because I introduced other stuff. Like when me and Audra were talking, part of what helped, fuel me a little bit was because, she was talking about because I brought up the Neil deGrasse Tyson on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about magnitudes of infinity. And I think probably that helped me out more than I'm aware of, because there may have been something in what he was saying that helped me tie that into something else somebody else had said and something else somebody else had said, and all these unconscious factors that it's like when we were able to tie that in, it helped me tie in that more holistic thing that I'm trying to tap into anyway, that makes it so that like the consistency thing that I'm looking for by panning out, I think I was able to tap into that a bit more effectively. So yeah, I think that's pretty fucking cool.
Right? Yeah, figuring shit out. No, I know exactly what you mean. Like,
because I know you're not a dominant 9, but I struggle with like feeling lost or like hazy in my head, or like not having a clear picture of things, which I think is probably what contributes to me desperately trying to seek that consistency and being just feeling, bereft. But I can't grab that. It's because I'm trying to develop that, and that sort of consistency thing that I'm talking about. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's cool, being able to identify that. Oh, that's why I do that annoying thing.
Well, I have a question. Because I was thinking about, you're talking about, TI being your tertiary, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's closure, by the way.
FE is our tertiary, and then we talk about it using it as a tool, but it's also theoretically our underlying. So it's how we get fed. We like to feed our tertiary, and it's really easy to see how you feed FE. Like it's obvious, kind of. It's like, okay, but your tertiary being an introverted, do you have to feed it yourself? How does that work?
Yeah.
Oh, I always try to feed it myself.
Right. So see, that's interesting. So that's a process. So like FE, like we can kind of set things up and let other people just kind of like feed our FE. So we can have that kind of external source. And I don't know, because anything you get externally is filtered through something else. So you're gonna have I guess it's almost like you wouldn't be able to. You get a smaller source of food for that, because it's got to be kind of developed internally and fed. That's interesting.
But what's interesting
on the video?
But what's interesting is that we like in conversation. True, it's something I might try to feed myself, but like in conversation, like the one that we had tonight, I was able to find some more of that consistency by rather than relying on myself to solve all of it. I bounced ideas off of you, and then the other two as they've been in here, and
right. Maybe getting a few chunks of our TI'd stuff already kind of put together.
Yeah, and so I think maybe it's giving me a better duality as well, because when I'm thinking about the difference between second and third position FE, TI, stuff like that, is that it's like for the TI creatives, the FI polars, they got that tertiary FE, so they're kind of wanting that. They're wanting people to generally have a happy-go-lucky vibe around them, or just not being
I don't
upset.
even think we have to be happy. I think we just gotta feel. It just has to be intense.
Is it intensity?
I think it's more subjective.
I don't because I don't think it has to be happy vibes.